Hey friends, I thought it'd be so fun to come and record in my hoop house because it's January and it's cold and there's actually green things around me. These are snapdragons right next to me. You might hear the snow sliding off the roof like that. So that's just the snow shedding off my gothic roof here. So anyway, I think this is just a fun, energizing place to be in January. And there's, good lighting. And we don't get a lot of sunshine in West Michigan in January. So, being outside in the hoop house is about as good as it gets. It's cloudy, but, we can't complain. So, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ruth Ann from Abundant Blooms Flower Farm in Dorr, Michigan, which is just south of Grand Rapids, West Michigan, Zone 6A now. And I grow on about an acre, but a certain percentage of that is in very young woodies and some young perennials as well. So I have about maybe like half to 3/4 of an acre that I'm actually really producing off of right now. So my channel is focused on talking about selling to florists. That's what I do. That's my main sales channel. That's how I sell most of my flowers. But just looking at a flower farm from that lens, so from that scope. So today, I believe it's a long anticipated, I've had a lot of questions, topic. We are going to be talking about woodies on my farm. I've talked briefly about my woody journey. So this is going to be a series. I actually have the first 2 videos outlined, and there's definitely going to be more. For sure, 1 more, maybe possibly 2 more, and maybe more depending on all your questions, which I've had some really great questions. So thank you for those. All that to say, we are close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you would subscribe, that would really make my day. It's been a really fun journey on YouTube. So please subscribe and like this video and share it with your friends. That would honestly be such an honor if you share this with your flower farming friends, particularly if they're seeking to grow their flower farm into selling woodies and selling to florists. So without further ado, let's get started. I've got my notebook here. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I started with woodies, why I grow woodies, and then my first woody order and when I planted that, essentially. So to start in the very beginning, my very first woodies, so I started farming in 2020, but before that, 2019, I had cut flowers. I had a flower garden and was growing them just to learn. And then I was just really thinking about the future and trying to have a flower farm. So one of the things I did in, I think 2019, maybe it was 2018, was I bought some hydrangeas. They were limelight hydrangeas and some lace cap hydrangeas, and I bought them retail price. I didn't have a business name or anything. So those were my very first woodies, and there was like 12 or 15 of them, so a decent amount. And I lined them around our backyard, which is right there, like the fence of our backyard. We have it fenced in, and so I planted these hydrangeas way too far apart for what I need them now. So that was my very first woody planting. However, that has been I have sold a ton off of those, and now those are some really decent mature hydrangeas, which are great. So that's kind of like the very beginning of my woody journey. I really didn't know much about it. And then, interestingly enough, I really enjoy watching Garden Answer. If you know Laura, she's a big garden channel, but she talks a lot about different shrubs, and one of them is a snowberry, and I knew that snowberry could also be used for cutting, and I put 1 snowberry bush in my landscape early, 2019, 2020, somewhere right in there. So a while ago. And I have cut and sold so much snowberry off of that 1 bush. It was kind of wild. I still sell off of it. So that will kind of lead in as I talk about how I got it, or what woodies I first planted. But basically, I had this 1 snowberry bush, loved it, sold a lot off of it, only to 1 florist because she bought it all. And so that kind of led me on my journey. So basically, the main woody portion started in 2022. So the 2022 season, I had invested in 2020 and 2021 in some peonies and different things, but basically I hadn't made any major perennial investments beside peonies. And then in 2022, I had like $1,000 from my sale from my season. I had about $1,000 from my season, and I was trying to determine what to do with this $1,000. And basically, I was thinking I can spend this on tulips, or I can spend this on woodies, or potentially perennials. But I had already invested maybe in 200 or so peonies by that time, and so I felt like I had a pretty good start on the peony department. And so after considering some of these things, obviously I ended up choosing the woodies. So here was my thought process. Maybe this will help some of you in thinking about your farm. So I was pretty invested in it for the long haul. Like, I was pretty sure that I wanted to flower farm and I wanted to keep flower farming. So to me, tulips seemed very short term and woodies seemed long term. I can plant a tulip any fall and have flowers the next spring. I can't just plant shrubs and have mature shrubs the next spring. You know, for the most part, different shrubs obviously grow at different rates. So, and they always say the best time to plant a tree, or a shrub in this case, is yesterday, right? So the best time to plant a shrub is yesterday. And I had not at this time taken Dave Dallion's course. I don't think I had taken it yet. I have since then. But Dave Dallion has a course about woodies, bulbs, perennials, and more. And I had listened to a lot of talks that he had given about woodies. And I had listened to a lot of ASCFG presentations about woodies. And they have information, like anything I could get my hands on, basically. I was researching the woodies, like, should I do this? And then Jenny Love always talks about how woodies are her retirement plan. I think she has an acre or more of woodies. And I was like, oh yeah, I think, I like retirement plans. And so I owned my own land and I had space for them. So I don't think I'm moving anytime soon. I'm sure not moving now. And so I own my own land and I have the space for them. So I chose woodies. I chose to plant woodies instead of tulips. So I did not plant tulips, just side note, I did not plant tulips until the fall of 2024 for going into my 5th season. Like, I just felt like I can plant them anytime. I'm going to invest into other things. So I chose woodies. I think that was a really great choice. I have no regrets. They continue to pay me. Tulip bulbs are super expensive and they don't continue to pay you. You have to continue to buy them. And you can only sell them once. So, from one bulb. So, so a couple of resources. The AFCFG has resources. The Flower Podcast has some interviews with Green Park Nursery, which is in Canada. It's like Carl Vermeyer or something. So you can look those up. But Carl is Green Park Nursery. They are a exclusive woody farm, like, oh man, I don't even know, like 200 acres, something crazy in Canada. But interestingly enough, they're very close to us. Like, they're not that far from us. They're like 4 or 5 hours from us, very similar zone, affected by the Great Lakes weather and that kind of stuff. So I really listened to everything I could from him, and he has some great interviews on different podcasts, and he has multiple teachings in the AFCFG. He has an Ask the Expert and different things. So I kind of got my hands on all this stuff. I did all this research, and then I figured out where to order them from. So Jenny Love always talks about how she loves this place called Spring Meadow. So Spring Meadow is a wholesale nursery, so you cannot order from them unless you're a business, but they're a wholesale nursery in Grand Haven, Michigan, which is about 30 minutes from me. And they allow you to pick up. And so I happen to live right near them. They happen to be my neighbors. They also happen to do the breeding. They also happen to, grow these plants in my basically exact environment, which just is like kind of a win-win for me. But they sell their plants and they ship them all over the United States and Canada, I believe. So anyway, that's where I got the plants from, Spring Meadow Nursery. They were amazing to work with. But I started doing all this research, right? 2022, I only had like $1,000, right? So a lot of these places have pretty high minimums. And I was like, well, I don't know. So I called them early in the season and I talked with this really great rep, and she told me that they have a 20 tray minimum. I was like, oh, that's kind of a lot for me, you know, at that time. But in August, their minimum goes down to 8 trays. So a tray is 16 plants. Usually, sometimes once in a while they're 18. It's like a little bit of a smaller thing. But so 16 plants is the minimum you can order of a specific variety, and I had to buy 8 trays. So 8 times 16. So that was the minimum order. So in August, their minimum goes down, and that was true as of 2024. So if you're looking to buy them and you need a small minimum, 8 trays isn't too hard to fill, and it goes down in August. So just be aware of that. So in 2022, I bought 10 trays and I got them in the beginning of August. And actually looking back, that was a really great time to plant. Maybe you're somewhere super, super hot and that might be a little too early. You might want to get them in September, but that really gave them a great chance to root in before the winter and get roots established. And they all did great except for one variety. I'll talk about that later. So what did I do to prep the land? I'm jumping in here because as I was editing the video, I realized that I gave misinformation. I said that I tilled the area as I prepped the land. That's not true. In order to prep the land, I tarped it, and I had it tarped all season. Remember, I was planning on this and I planted them in August. So I had the area tarped and I was going to till it. You'll see in the video there's a tiller, and I decided not to, because I felt that I could plant into the area that was tarped because it was all dead at that point. So what I did is I took an auger and attached it to my drill, just my electric drill, and I augered holes to plant my plants, which you'll see pictures of that coming up. So I debated tilling it, then I decided not to till the whole area because that would be dumb, and then I thought about just tilling the strip where I was planting, and I decided not to, and just to auger holes instead, and it worked great. So more than one way to do things. I chose to plant like a strip and then landscape fabric. So I have a 12-inch strip that I planted the plants in, and then I had 3-foot landscape fabric. I'm pretty sure it was 3 feet. I'll make sure, maybe it was 4. And then like another 12 inches where I planted the plant in the middle of that 12 inches, and then another landscape fabric. So there were these strips, as opposed to burning holes in the landscape fabric. This just was like simpler. And then it allowed me to like have access to the roots. And then what I did was I cut, it was a little labor intensive. I cut rectangles of cardboard and I put them between each plant, and then I put wood chips over top of them. So that's what I did. It worked great. I didn't do that immediately, and then I had all kinds of weeds, and then 3 or 4 weeks later I had to weed it all, and then I put the cardboard squares and the wood chips and then it kept the weeds out. So would I do that again, that method again? Yeah, that has worked really well, especially now. This is obviously 2 years ago, and then the shrubs really grow up, right? And then they shade it out, and then I've weeded it like once or twice in the beginning of the season, and then maybe in July, and then that's it. I don't weed it anymore, and so it's gone really well. That's been a really great system. Okay, so what did I order? That first order in 2022. Here's what I ordered. So there were 16 of each of these, except one was a tray of 18. So I ordered 16 Winecraft Black Smoke Bush. I ordered 16 Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangeas. I ordered 16 Ginger Wine 9 bark, 16 Summer Wine 9 bark, 16 Tiny Wine 9 bark, which they don't sell the tiny wine anymore. Sad day. 16 Symphocarpus or Snowberry, the Proudberry variety. 16 Bloomerang Lilac, which is a reblooming lilac. 16 Viburnum Glitters and Glows. 16 Spirea Wedding Cake. 16 Mount Asama Silex, which is a willow. Or it was actually 18 of them. Okay, so I planted all of them except the willow, the Mount Asama, in that in the one area with the strips and the landscape fabric. And then the willow I planted in a different area, and I just kind of dug holes in the ground because it's more wet over there, and I planted all 18 of these, and every single one of them died. I think I didn't water them enough because it was probably drier and they need a lot of water, and they all died. It was my fault. Otherwise, I literally did not lose one single plant. They all lived, they all survived. They're almost all, thriving to this day. So that was pretty good. So that's what I planted that first planting in 2022. Those are the things that I planted and why I planted them, and kind of my reasoning and where I got them from. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell you how they're doing today, how I harvest them, when I harvest them, post-harvest care, how I prune them, how I fertilize them, what their vase life is, how much they produced so far. That's what I'm going to do in my next video. So please let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the woodies. I really want to help answer your questions. I have just been blown away with my woody journey, and I love it. I mean, clearly I loved this first planting so much. In 2024, spoiler alert, I added over 900 woodies to my farm in this past season. I just think that's the direction of my farm. Obviously, all of these things are hardy to my zone. A lot of these are natives to North America. Ninebark is, and viburnum is, and smoke bush is. So I don't know about maybe all. I don't have specific information about every single one of them. Most of them are native to North America. So thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to download those 3 free tips for selling flowers to florists. It's really helpful. And if you haven't, please subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. From my hoop house, goodbye.